Hello everyone. Thank you very much for joining in on this webinar. My name is Sunil Menon. I lead the application services and digital practice at CMS IT Services. I joined CMS IT nearly 5 years ago after a long stint with Oracle doing solutioning with multiple Oracle products. The practice that I lead at CMS IT is focused on providing services around applications. Our differentiating factor has always been our approach, and therefore we've had some very rich conversations around digitization with our customers. We have learned extensively by speaking to our more than 300 customers, and they've been our greatest teachers in this journey. Digital transformation is by no means a new word. From the time computers became an inseparable part of our daily lives, organizations have been working on how they could make them work for their businesses. Our objective in this session is to see how digital approaches can be applied in the current context. This presentation is the first of a series of webinars that we have planned on digitization. In this session, we would like to establish what we at CMS IT Services have defined as our approach to digitization or digital transformation. I'm sure there'll be many different ways of defining digitization, but we have defined it based on what we think is the best way to help our customers maximize the benefit out of the time, effort, and indeed the money that they would be spending on a digital transformation journey. In other words, as our opening slide suggests, we believe in keeping the digital transformation journey simple. This is just a historical perspective to put the term digitization in context. I began by saying that the term going digital is probably as old as popularized computing culture itself. But in fact, it's a little older. In the pre-computers era, we had sci-fi movies, video games, and then those rare computers that we could only see in those movies. There may be many of those in this audience who are too young to have experienced anything of that sort, but the rest of them know what I'm talking about. There clearly was a hunger for information. Many of the things that we can easily search online and find out today were so tedious to decipher. I'll call that era, the pre-computer era, an information-hungry age. And then came the age of disconnected computing. Disconnected computing was, if you ask me, a way of storing the information, which was in any case scarce. I'm not one to trivialize the value of the disconnected device in the scheme of digitization as we know it today, but I feel that the challenges faced by digitization today cannot have been understood in its entirety without the era of disconnected, during the era of disconnected or standalone devices. Then the internet came along. I would argue that the advent of the internet should be the base case for any meaningful discussion on digitization. And what happened after the internet came along? Not only did we have access to information, but now the information that's available to people and to organizations is compounding thanks to the multitude of sources. The indigestion problem is already there. Our approach to digitization should tackle this problem of abundance. How do we create the right data and information? How do we ensure that the information that we have access to is put to the best possible use? That brings me to how we as IT professionals can help solve this puzzle. The digital era will disrupt the whole organization. After all, your customers are now used to a new kind of doing business thanks to digital options. And so are all the other partners you're working with. Your employees are also customers in a digital marketplace and therefore are not new to digital. So the modern day CIO is operating in an environment where most of his internal and external customers are demanding change rather than responding to change. If you try to simplify the puzzle, you'll see that the digital challenges impact will essentially fall into one of the two large areas, that is business or process. While there could be some overlaps between the two, I'm defining the business impact as customer centricity and the process impact as that which impacts all other stakeholders. The other stakeholders may be suppliers, employees, regulatory authorities. These two impact areas feed on each other and they support each other. For simplicity's sake, I'd say a customer who's serviced using a digital channel will result in increased business, and the process universe has to support the challenges posed by digitization on the business side. When the internet first entered the scene, going digital meant something as basic as having a website. It was largely about content. So the needle has moved rapidly over the years from content to transactions. So in a truly digital organization, it'll measure itself on how much of its business is actually coming of digital sources and how much of the business is enabled by digital sources. How many of your prospects are you reaching out through digital sources? Is your organization a key digital influencer? Is your digital journey opening up new business models for you? It'll be interesting to see how some of those digitally enabled organizations would do minus digital in today's day and age. And then there are organizations that have changed the space that they are in. Some of the largest taxi operators in the world, if you think about it, don't own a single car. Could that have happened in a traditional model? Or companies that provide hotel rooms, large hotel companies don't own a single hotel or don't own a single hotel room. The scale of digital businesses in a business where large volumes come in from digital channels will more often than not make it impossible not to digitize the processes. Can you imagine an online shopping experience without the algorithm that makes the right irresistible suggestion to the shopper? Can we plan transportation traditionally anymore, or will that also have to evolve? Can billing, invoicing, query responses be done the traditional way anymore? I think these are important questions that are being asked and answered. So it's in the backdrop of the questions posed by the evolving business models that we have endeavored to define digital transformation. As we promised, we'll keep it simple. We're going to call it the three pillars of digital transformation. In our experience and in our engagements with customers, we have found that these pillars are indispensable parts of any digital program. The first pillar is transactional clarity through business process streamlining. A program like digital transformation will have a profound and lasting effect on the way business and transactions take place in your organization. For that reason, it makes sense for us to relook at our processes and ensure that they're in tune with the stated goal of going digital. Digital organization processes should be sharp as well as well thought out. It should realize the possibilities of going digital. Relooking at the processes and evaluating them from time to time would make sense in any case. But in a digital organization, it's even more important as the opportunity to gain from improved processes is enormous. The question to be asked is the classical 80-20 question. The answer to that question will reveal which processes to focus on and where maximum benefits of re-engineering those processes lie. If, for example, employee onboarding is eating up the bulk of the initial engagement time with a new employee, that process is a sitting duck for evaluation. Now, onto our second pillar of digital transformation, that is automation. A big change in what we define as automation today is the ability to easily automate processes en masse and to do so in a structured and intelligent framework. So when I refer to automation, I'm largely talking about robotic process automation supported by cognitive intelligence. Automation in the context of digitization refers to what delta we can do over and above the processes that we have already been put in place till date using various tools like ERP, CRM, HCM, and other legacy systems. The approach that we are suggesting is that automation should leverage those existing investments. For that reason, the first step of your automation journey should be to architect the solution. It's very tempting to automate pain processes immediately. After all, the ROI of immediate automation is faster. While we can use pain processes as proof of concepts to get a feel of what we can achieve through automation, we would suggest an approach where you have an overall plan in place to leverage the opportunities in the medium term. The next step we suggest is to grab the low-hanging fruits by doing what a base RPA can do by itself. The third step is to bring in cognitive intelligence into the system. Ultimately, the automation program should target a digital mix for the workforce, a combination of human workers, RPA bots, and intelligent bots. We'll tell you more about the difference between RPA bots and intelligent bots in a future session on automation. So we should put a plan in place to target growth potential using this combination of human workers, RPA bots, and intelligent bots. Having done the architecting of the solution, the next step is the automation of key processes, and that should follow what we call a path of least resistance. In each process, let's arrive at the ideal combination of robotic process automation, smart workflow, and artificial intelligence capabilities. In this slide, I have summarized the automation construct. We have structured and unstructured data, of course, from various sources. The entire automation path that we are suggesting is the processing of unstructured data and the streamlining of structured data and designing a digital workforce that will ensure transactional cleanliness across these sources. As you can see, we are looking at leveraging existing investments in the enterprise applications over the years. The systems that you see to the right, ERP, the CRMs, etc. We are looking at leveraging the digital workforce in both internal and external facing systems, and this we are doing with the help of a digital workforce. Having architected the solution, how do we arrive at the specific tasks that are to be automated? For base RPA, the processes that we can target at early stage are the ones that are repeatable consistently and that can be templatized with unambiguous rules. Of course, the choice of process will also depend upon the impact that one envisages out of it. Ideally, the volume of the transactions should justify the effort of automation. So while this is not an exhaustive list or even 100% true all the time, based on the template that we have discussed in the last slide, here are some processes that an average organization can target to automate using RPA. You would notice that I'm saying RPA at this stage because it's not easy to templatize the use of an intelligent AI-driven bot. We'll attempt to do some of that in a future session on intelligent automation. Now let's move on to the last pillar of our Go Digital approach, the digital experience. So digital experience, of course, goes beyond technology. It's a digital experience is as much an art as it is a science. The story of several monopolies in the digital world, starting from Google, Facebook, WhatsApp, and many, many more, are testimony to the fact that the experience that captures the user's imagination is the one that wins and wins really big. It's worth emulating great experience stories in our own way in enterprise applications. A simple, effective, and highly functional experience layer can transform not just the experience, but the underlying technology-driven processes that are being affected. So I've put together what a typical application landscape would look like in an average organization. There are the packaged applications, the COTS applications, the homegrown development, which has happened using your DevOps team, etc. And then there are edge applications, which are niche applications, which are packaged applications in a way, but they're also edge applications like transportation, etc. And We have an experience layer, which is typically specific to those applications. Now, in our experience approach, we're talking about unifying the experience layer, and that's why we have put this picture in place. A good digital experience will recreate the brand that you have outside the digital world and add a digital dimension to it. A good digital experience will bring consistency of experience across the layers and across platforms. So if you have a mobile app and a web page, typically any change that's made on a web page should reflect on those mobile apps. At CMS IT, we use some cutting edge digital experience tools with the best of breed product partners to bring together a whole new experience. We will discuss some of these tools in our future sessions pertaining to digital experience. The experience layer has become a business imperative. With so many different sources of continuously compounding data, technology has the potential to transform. But that potential can be best harnessed only by empowering users, and that is where the importance of an experience layer comes in. The digital organization will optimize its digital touchpoints. It's about enabling a digital touchpoint for customers without losing the personal customer touch. And it's about enabling digital touchpoints for employees without losing the human touch. Well-designed experience layers can enhance the human touch rather than diminish it. And that's why experience design, as I said, is as much an art as it is a science. So now I'd like to take some time to reflect on how these three pillars can come together on some common business cycles. In the slide, we are showing the sales cycle. How do we leverage a combination of process changes, intelligent automation, and digital experience to take the customer experience to the next level? The nature of business will have a lot to do with this. And there are no generic solutions, of course. The questions to be asked are, can we have a solution that improves the pre-sale, during sale, and post-sale experiences? In a CRM cycle, the solution will have to base itself on the underlying business processes that are established through the current system. It will be essential to look at the current CRM system and the workflow of the sales cycle. Let's look closely at each of the key steps in a detailed analysis if they lend themselves to the business, to the digital approach that we're talking about. Discovery, purchase, billing, payment, post-purchase support, and continuous engagement. Typically, the opportunity is to facilitate the decision-making better, provide an algorithm-based buyer support, bot support for FAQs, and smooth automated billing and post-sale support. The opportunity to increase the customer touchpoints and also to make it an error-free and smooth customer experience. Similarly, can we use the three pillars to address the different stages of the employee cycle? Do note that our solution is over and above where a HR system or a payroll system can traditionally deliver. The digital experience for the employee is to have a seamless experience over and above traditional support. One of our partners provides each of their employees with a digital assistant, right? And that helps them with their transactions, including HR, travel, reimbursements, etc. Now, it's almost like every employee having its own personal assistant. Is your organization looking at transforming the employee experience? If yes, do look at some of our digital transformation approaches. Like I mentioned right at the beginning, this was most of a context setting presentation. We will come back to you with detailed sessions on process management in a digital enterprise, intelligent automation in a digital enterprise, and managing digital experience in a digital transformation journey. We will discuss our experiences in these areas and share some of our learnings in various engagements. I'll request you to reach out to us and let us know if you'd like to know anything specific in these areas that can be addressed in the sessions that follow. Also, let us know if you wish to have any other sessions on digital transformation or digitization other than the ones that I've already mentioned. Thank you very much for joining in, and good luck with your digital journey. Yeah. You can use the chat engine, the chat box in your screen to type in any questions that you have at this stage. Thank you everybody for joining on this webinar. Whatever questions we have received, we'll respond to it in a coherent fashion to you individually or to people who have asked. Thank you for joining in, and please do look out for the sessions which you have to follow, which is on intelligent automation and on process in a digital transformation journey and on the digital experience. Thank you and have a nice evening.